What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 8-game slate in the association. Another one of these mid-tier slates with a lot of injury information because we've got plenty of teams playing on back-to-backs here. Orlando, Cleveland, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Houston, all on the second night of back-to-back. Chicago, Sacramento, and Golden State all in the front of the back-to-back. One of the benefits of kind of the spread out schedules has been more mid-sized slates. One of the downsides is just as much back-to-back issues, more. So with me to talk through the injury report, as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you feeling about the 8 games on the docket tonight?
Yeah, pretty good. A lot of back-to-back, so it's really tough to write ahead. So I try to do my best for matchup. Should be up any minute. Jackson's working on it. But it's pretty tough, man. And we're getting these out of nowhere injuries. There's some I think are going to happen today because the Sixers are on the slate on a back-to-back. So that'll be fun to talk through. My definition of fun is different from most people. But I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, just every day we're getting something, man. Like Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Pirtle. Yep. Like every day, Donovan Mitchell. Just every day we've got like an injury, and that's just the way it goes this month, man.
Yeah, late season NBA DFS is upon us. There's only about 5 more weeks left in the regular season in total here. So we're nearing, the stretch run here. It's nearing kind of shutdown time for some guys. We'll see if that is in the cards as well. But let's get into the game by game stuff. Let's start with Orlando and Washington. Orlando on the second night of a back-to-back here. That means no Jonathan Isaac, no Gary Harris. Those two players have often been managed in back-to-backs. So we know the Magic have plenty of depth. The matchup is friendly here. What are your expectations in terms of who we see start for the Magic tonight?
Yeah, so we kind of saw this coming. We saw Markelle Fultz get the Q tag yesterday, got ruled out, and he's going to play today. He gets a homecoming game. He's from Maryland. So that was kind of the expectation. Talked about that a little yesterday. So the question is, who starts, right? Obviously, we know Jalen Suggs, Wendell Carter Jr., Franz, and Paolo are going to start. I'll talk about some other stuff there. So the candidates will be Anthony Black, who's been starting, or is it Fultz? Jamal Mosey's been talking about kind of like a ramp up for Fultz. Fultz has been playing a little bit better. Talk about him being more assertive. So I think there's a chance. Like we've got like a little bit of a hedge on Fultz or Anthony Black starting. That's just the way it's tended to go there, and they've been slotting Cole Anthony as more of a 2. So I think there's a decent chance we finally get Markelle Fultz back in the starting lineup here, but hardly confident there. We won't get any shoot-around notes. The Magic have been pretty good at revealing starters jerseys for guys, but they're not going to have it on a back-to-back. So we're kind of flying blind here. Got a little bit of a hedge on Markelle starting there. And then the other notes here is, man, Franz just kills the Wizards. He scored 30 per game. Against the Wizards. I talk about all the time how he just dominates poor rim teams. The Wizards allow the most rim points. That's kind of where we're at. Wendell Carter Jr.'s minutes are up. We'll see if they decide to finally get Markelle Fultz back in the starting lineup. And, maybe it's a homecoming little boost to get him in the starting lineup for cheers.
If he was to start, what are we thinking on from a minutes perspective? He has not topped 25 minutes in a game since about a month ago. On February 6th, he got to 28. He's only top 29 once all season since January, basically since he returned. So we've seen pretty limited minutes opportunities from Markelle, even when he has been in the starting lineup. What would you be expecting here? And is there the risk, I guess, like as you alluded to with a homecoming type situation, is there the risk that, he's a starter because of the homecoming situation, but they're really not intending to change his minutes at all, and thus he plays the same amount that he would off the bench. It's just that they're starting him because of kind of a homecoming narrative.
Yeah, we put him. I think we landed on 21 for now. We were kind of oscillating between 21 and 20, and I think we'd be like 24, 25 as a starter. I don't think they're going to play him a lot. Clearly, this knee thing has been bothering him. He's not going to play back-to-backs probably for the season. I'd be 24, 25 as a starter. As you mentioned, he had that in that 125 game. Hasn't even been close. He was like 18, 19, 20, 16. Yep. So the high end seems to be like 27, and like the low end could still be 20. So I think we'd be like 24.
Okay. Washington side of things, Marvin Bagley ruled out here, so the center position gets even thinner for a team that, as you alluded to, has really struggled against opposing centers and struggled with rim protection. They're still without Isaiah Livers as well, but who do you expect to draw the start in Marvin Bagley's absence, and how are they going to fill those minutes? They're also without Patrick Baldwin Jr. on G League assignment, which we should note he's played some center for them at times this year. So what are your notes here on the Wizards?
Yeah, so let me get to the digging here. As I thought they might start home, so that prompted me, as I always do, pop on the socials, get some social videos. We had a Wizards practice to see. Hey, you'll start to see. I think it pops up right here. I think Rashawn Holmes comes up right now. I have it memorized. Yep, there he is. Look at that. Rashawn Holmes not in the starter jersey with the one. And then you also see Landry Shamet pop in. So I think we're gonna. Here's Landry Shamet coming by. I think Eric right now. There he goes. There he goes. Landry Shamet and one. So I think they're gonna start Tyus Jones, Landry Shamet, Denny Avdia, Kyle Kuzma, and Balaku Abali in that spot. And then we'll see Rashawn Holmes. But this is, I mean, that's a dangerous game to play. Orlando's so rim dependent. They are number one like per possession for rim scoring. The Pacers have a little bit more than them, but the Pacers play so much faster. So yeah, expecting them to play small. Still Rashawn Holmes. He'll be the second unit center in there as well. Jordan Poole also playing a ton in the spot. So yeah, I think they'll start small. Kyle Kuzma at the 5, and just my God, the Orlando rim pressure could be really outrageous, man. Like they could score, 80 rim points or more. It's like such a mismatch for the worst interior team versus one of the best interior teams.
All right, let's move to Cleveland and Atlanta. Cleveland on the second night of a back-to-back here. They'll be without Evan Mobley, who had a really bad left ankle sprain, left the arena on crutches, is going to miss some time. Also without Max Strus and Donovan Mitchell here. So 3 starters down. Pretty thin on the whole. Thankfully for my best ball shares, Darius Garland not listed on the injury report, so it looks like he'll be good to go here on the second night of the back-to-back. But what are your expectations for a thin Cavs team here off a really, surprising come-from-behind win against Boston?
Yeah, Dean Wade, he's the hero, man. He's going to have to start here. So without a doubt, I feel quite confidently that it's going to be Darius Garland, Sam Merrill, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, and Jared Allen. Their bench will still have Karis LeVert as a main bench piece. George Niang. We'll see Craig Porter Jr. probably play the non-Garlands maybe a little bit more, and then we're bringing in a little bit of Damian Jones to get what should be Clint Capella and Bruno Fernando covering most of those center minutes. Could be a really big minute ceiling on Jared Allen. But yeah, we're talking about almost 100 minutes taking out Max Strus, Donovan Mitchell, and Mobley there. So they are really feeling the squeeze. We've got a couple minutes for Imani Bates just because the back-to-back factor. We don't want to go too nuts on the minutes, but there's a chance they do really up the minutes here. The Cavs still, they're feeling the Bucks kind of breathe down their neck here with comeback. So, but yeah, it's pretty strong minutes for Dean Wade. I think we landed at 26 just because again they're just missing so many minutes here. Garland A+ matchup, almost cover Boyd him here. So yeah, he's in a good spot. Jared Allen A+ matchup. They're gonna run the hell out of Garland Allen pick and rolls. And we'll see how much offense Dean Wade gets after his career high 23. 20.4. The pain, man. The Lefko parlay was gonna hit last night, and I was so mad. Jason Tatum can't score 5 points in the final 15 minutes, and Boston lost the money line. So yeah, tilting with Lefko a little bit last night. Thought we had the parlay yesterday.
Yeah, the Celtics win streak comes to an end. With that Bucks 6-game winning streak, they've actually passed Cleveland in the standings now for the number 2 seed, so up a half game there. Yep. And I think Cleveland will view that as an important potential seeding opportunity to get home court in that second round. And I think a lot of teams are also going to be looking at the difference between the 2 and the 6th seed. The 6 and the 7 seed in terms of who the 2 or the 3 play. The 7 seed has the opportunity to be or would be one of the play-in teams, so has the opportunity to be one of these softer matchups. Whereas the 6 seed right now, as it stands right now, would be the Miami Heat, potentially the New York Knicks, Orlando Magic, maybe a little bit of a tougher situation depending on Philadelphia if Embiid comes back. And so I think seeding priority will still take play for Cleveland. Would expect full minutes from all their main guys that are available tonight. Mm-hmm. Hawks side, also second night of a back-to-back here. They're without Kobe Buffkin. They were out without him last night. DeAndre Hunter got a probable tag. They're still without Trae Young and Onyeka Okongwu. And then they gave a bunch of questionable tags to G Leaguers. AJ Griffin, Vic Krejci, Seth Lundy, Mohamed Gueye. So I think we might see some of the G League depth. I'm a little bit concerned. Like Atlanta doesn't really have a ton to play for at this time of the year. They're 3 games up on Brooklyn from the 10th spot for the play-in, and they're like 2 games behind Chicago, but then like 6 games behind actually improving the seeding. and they're pretty banged up. So on the second night of back-to-back, I'm a little bit concerned about minutes managing, but Quinn Snyder generally has just played guys into the ground. So what are your thoughts here on Atlanta? What are your expectations? Are you concerned at all about the probable tag on DeAndre Hunter?
Yes, he has not played in a back-to-back since November 26th. So this would be quite a new move. We know they've been managing him. I've been mentioning pretty much every show, when are they going to freaking start him? And they're not. Apparently I'm going to stop talking about that soon. Not yet. I'm doing it now. But I promise you, one day I will stop talking about it. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Maybe he gets downgraded. They'll see how he does warming up. The minutes have been really strong. They actually closed big yesterday. They closed with basically Sadiq as a 2, Hunter, Jalen Johnson, and Capella, obviously DeJounte at the point. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. I mentioned Bogdan. We're not getting any commentary from the team. It's all been the broadcast talking about this Bogdan. I talked about this yesterday. Didn't close yesterday. Snyder said he played well, but did he though? He was terrible. Didn't shoot the ball.
Plus,
well.
his plus minus was good, so that's probably what the coach was referencing.
For sure. But I mean, for a guy that shoots to go 1 of 6 from the floor, not great. So keep an eye on that. But expecting Hunter off the bench. Maybe has a minutes limit of some kind, since this is his first back-to-back in quite some time. 3 months? So that's kind of where we're at here. Keep an eye on Capella, not listed. First back-to-back since February 2nd. We know he missed some time last month there, so it looks like he's good to go. They went straight center, which is a move everyone does against the Knicks because they rebound so well. And a thing that you're worried about with Jared Allen. I don't know if they're going to want to put Jalen Johnson on him. Obviously, Jalen Johnson's playing a ton of minutes. The dimes were great. They were kind of trapping DeJounte a little bit, and that got Jalen Johnson on some kind of short roll stuff that looked really good. So he's absolutely crushing. And they don't have too much to add. As you mentioned, they run really, really tight. So we could see things continue to stay pretty tight here as they are, trying to get back to 500 maybe, and probably not going to happen, but in the play-in mix.
All the G League questionable tags. Any reason for concern there?
I could do the G League tracker real quick here, but I don't think. I mean, they're home. Okay. I imagine the Skyhawks are probably home.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'll check the schedule right now.
They did add Dylan Windler yesterday, as you can see, the DNP coach's decision as well. So that is another wing body. They've been a little bit short wing bodies just generally of late. So that is another wing body that they have available to them. But they haven't been playing Wesley Matthews. So Dylan Windler's probably not playing.
Their G League guys are, they're home. So they were home. Okay. They were home yesterday, and they're home till Friday. So they're in town.
Okay.
So
that's probably why the Q tag. Okay.
Yeah.
Clippers and Houston. On the Clippers side, they're clean in terms of back-to-back worries here. They have 2 days off after this one, so they're one of the few teams. Them and Utah are the most rested teams on this slate. No Russell Westbrook here for the Clippers. We've seen Bones Highland get into the rotation as a result. We saw Zubats still have relatively modest minutes. They were comfortable playing some small ball minutes. We only saw 39 combined minutes for Zubats and Tice against a big Milwaukee team. So that was interesting of note. But what are your notes here for the Clippers without Russ?
I mean, Bones playing the non-Hardens, pretty straightforward. Seen a lot of minutes stealing out of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden. Not much has changed. Paul George has just kind of been more of a shooter. His touch time's really far down compared to Kawhi and Harden. Harden's still not driving. He has no rim points at all. He only has 12 drives per game. With that amount of minutes, it's quite wild for a guy that routinely would hit 20 last year. So still waiting for that. And then they got the Norm Powell, Terrence Mann push and pull. We've seen Norm's minutes kind of come up while Terrence Mann's minutes the last few games have really been cut down. One of it was because of blowout. One was not. So that was a little bit odd. Zubats minutes mostly back on track. I don't think they're going to go small. I mean, we saw what Şengün did last night. We'll talk more about that in a second. But Kawhi's been pretty aggressive. His shots are up. His touches are up. All that stuff. Going to probably maybe see Jabari on the other end, but maybe not. We'll talk about that in a second. But I feel pretty good about this rotation. And then, I mean, they got to get some wins here. They're kind of stumbling just a little bit. So I think we could see pretty tight rotation. You mentioned the rest factor, so could see a few upper 30s here.
Yeah, they're still 2 games back in the loss column of Minnesota and Oklahoma City, but 3 games back in total. They have a couple games in hand here, and only 2 games back, 1 game back in the loss column of Denver for the 3 seed. So even though they struggled of late, just 5-5 over the last 10, still plenty of reason to continue to try to ascend the standings. Houston side of the equation, second night of back-to-back here, and they're still without Tari Eason, who's lost for the season. They've got a Q tag on Jeff Green and Jabari Smith here. Much to my chagrin, no tags on Alperen Sengun, who has already decided to bury my best ball season of a 2-week stretch with an 80 in his first of 7 games. Is going to be tough to overcome when three of the 5 players in my pod have him, and I am one of the 2 that does not. But what are your thoughts here with the Jabari Smith questionable tag? Illness, not the tag you usually want to see on the second night of back-to-back. Minutes were down last night for Jabari.
Yeah, it was a little odd to see those minutes down. He did not. I thought he was going to guard Wemby. He did not guard Wemby. It was Dylan Brooks who guarded Victor Wembanyama, and quite well. He was like all up in his business. Wemby's worst game like ever. Just a bad game from Wemby. Shout out to us for having an under on him. But if he's out, if Jeff is out, I guess they would go Dylan at the 4 and then maybe start Amen. Do you have a take there? Yeah.
I think that's how they go. I think you start Amen Thompson, you slide Aaron Holiday's minutes up. You can get Reggie Bullock into the mix a little bit too if you need to there. But yeah, I think Amen makes the most sense because from a size perspective, you're now playing positionally big anyway, and rebounding is the main thing that he does. All kind of fits with what Jabari does. They lose shooting, and they're going to be shooting short, which is tough against the Clippers defense, but I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, wing defense makes a ton of sense. So that would be my lean there. Yeah, I didn't get any comments from Udoka about it. All the questions were about Sengun. Rightfully so. So, Sengun obviously is. I don't need to say much. Just I think 13 elbow touches, which is like high. I think the NBA high is like 9 for Sabonis. So just massive paint touches. Had 65 or something like that last night. They just fed the man. He just kind of bulldozed into him. Used his size advantage, was really impressive. So Van Vliet's minutes are back. 10 assists, 1 turnover. He was not getting any love, but he played great yesterday. Jalen Green continues to play really well, man. He's really bounced back after we were all trying to bury him, myself included. Cam Whitmore benefited a little bit from the Jabari stuff there. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Also mentioned Jeff Green's minutes were subbed in real late. This is like a 2-game trend. We're seeing Jeff Green get phased out a little bit. So they might even hold him out just anyways because they just want to do that. I don't know. So and then Aaron Holiday's minutes got cut. Again, function of a Tibbsian 39 for Jalen, 38 for they just played their starters a ton in a game they wanted to get.
Yep, and that game played fast. There were so many possessions. Mm-hmm. They got up 105 shots, forced 18 turnovers. So yeah, it was a fantasy feast for the Houston Rockets last night. Much tougher spot tonight against the Clippers. But don't worry if you're a Rockets best ball holder. They have plenty of soft matchups still left in the 7-game stretch. They still get Washington. They still get San Antonio again. I was looking at this and just like crying.
Oh man!
At like what number Sengun's going to put up in this winner take all advance to the finals in the 555. But yeah, they were great last night. And the only other thing I would say is maybe out of nowhere, if they just wanted to keep Amen in a bench role for some reason, maybe Reggie Bullock gets elevated for like wing defense. But I think it's very unlikely. But would just note the matchup with the Clippers will facilitate more wing defenders just naturally. So those guys, if Jabari's out, are going to get elevated a little bit more because of the matchup with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to Memphis and Philadelphia.
The fun one.
The battle of the injury reports today. Memphis side, everybody is out. Yeah. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. questionable, but the out list is Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, John Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr., Derrick Rose, Marcus Smart, Yuta Watanabe, and Zaire Williams. And Zaire Williams being the new one that's going to be lost for a few weeks here. And man, they're really thin. We'll see if Jaren's able to go. Right quad tendonitis is the listing for the Q tag here. Any leans on Jaren's availability tonight, and how do the rest of the things shake up? We saw Jordan Goodwin get the inactive games management monitor that we saw. Mm-hmm. Trey Jamison get the game before. We had talked through this, but they're just managing these two-way games. What are your thoughts on Jaren's availability and the rest of the Grizz tonight?
Yeah, they're so let's talk about Jaren. This is tanking, right? We talked about that probable tag that popped up. I said it could be a red flag for possible tanking coming. That's what's going on to me. They've done this before, so we're clearly expecting, maybe honestly. So with the Sixers being so short, that makes Jaren more likely to sit, in my opinion. And then he's going to sit the Wizards game coming up. I bet the Wizards. DK ran. You could bet who the Wizards could get their first win against on this losing streak. I bet against the Grizzlies at 11-1. So root for that. Anywho, so don't really have a take. If he's in, he's starting. If he's in, that'll also bump Trey Jemison possibly out. Jemison has quite a few games left. I think he has 12 games left. So they could still play him. Probably not. I think they're just going to reserve it for when they don't have Jaren. So if Jaren's in, Jemison's probably all the way out.
Yeah.
Goodwin, I think, only has 6 games left, so he could probably be out. So if he's not starting, then he's probably out. They've got some bodies. And we saw Jake LaRavia. He was like the leading driver of the team.
Yeah.
He was tied with, I think, Conchar, but he had more shots and more points off drives. LaRavia was his most aggressive game offensively that we've seen all year. That will obviously change if Jaren Jackson's in there. Jaren Jackson has become more of a driver as well. So if Jaren's in, expecting John Conchar, who was the lead point guard, led the team in touch time, Luke Kennard, Vince, Santi Aldama, and then Jaren or Jemison, one or the other. And then the bench, certainly a lot of Gigi Jackson, a lot of LaRavia, a lot of Stevens, a little bit of Hurt. So they've kind of got a rotation there. So they don't even really need Goodwin. We have Goodwin at like 14.
Yep.
But we're probably going to kill it more likely than not. So they still kind of got a 9 despite losing Zaire basically for the season. Derrick Rose likely for the season. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and they're in a position right now from what can they gain from a tanking perspective? Not a ton. If you look at teams that are the next team that they could move ahead of in terms of losses and wins is Portland, who they're 4 wins behind. That's a lot to make up with this amount of time in the season. Essentially, you'd need to lose out to hope Portland can win 4 more games. And then in terms of who they are benefiting from avoiding surpassing, you've got Toronto at 23-39 is the biggest challenger, but then the next one would be Brooklyn at 25-37. Brooklyn's kind of playing for the play-in as well. So they're in this phase where they might be tanking. Do they really need to? I don't think they need to. I think they're not going to gain anything from it. So I think it's more likely that we see Jaren sit through questionable tags right now, but I think there's a decent chance we still get Jaren back at some point and playing just because they'll be in this in-between phase where I don't think it really matters.
Yeah. But to add to that, I mean, Jaren has a meniscus tear in his history. He's had other injuries in his career. So, just sit him.
That's what I'm saying. I think if he's questionable, he's probably sitting through these tags, but I think once he's fully healthy, I think they're more likely to play him and just manage not play back-to-backs, different things like that.
And then Jake LaRavia's value is 0, and he's played better. He's obviously not going to be a net positive, but him, all their fringy guys who were oh, they might be a thing. They're not, so maybe they could boost some value. So I think that's how they're approaching it. It's just if you do get the tank somehow, it's just a little bonus.
Yep. All right, Philadelphia side, second night of back-to-back here. Tyrese Maxey's still listed out with the concussion. Kyle Lowry's not going to play after playing heavy minutes last night. He's listed out due to rest. They're still without Robert Covington, DeAnthony Melton, and Joel Embiid. Nicholas Batum is not on the injury report, but we've had concerns about him on back-to-backs. We saw that one game that he played just to inbound a ball, essentially. So some strange stuff with Batum. What are your expectations for what we see from Philadelphia tonight?
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So let's start with Cameron Payne. Obviously, I don't need to talk about Lowry. Let me talk about the players that I have concerns about. At the top of the list is Cameron Payne. I've said maybe 10 times that the Sixers don't list guys with illnesses all the time. It's happened in Tobias a couple times. So Cameron Payne not getting listed at all is just not right. He was, quote, 75% before the game. After the game, Nick Nurse said that he was pulling him out because he couldn't breathe properly. He couldn't breathe properly yesterday. You're not even putting him on the injury report at all? What are we doing? So he had really short stints, had a 3-minute stint out of the gate. Just wild, man. So pure Sixers here. Heads up on Cameron Payne. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a late ad. Just total Sixers. Any other team, I wouldn't be concerned, but the Sixers, red alert on Cameron Payne, late edition stuff there. Batum, that last time he played back-to-back, it was more fresh when he was returning from an injury, so it's a little bit different. But the fact that they didn't list him at all and they put him in for a freaking inbounds play, I mean, it's the Sixers, man. They got fined early this year. They should find him. They should find him for that Batum thing, in my opinion.
Habitual line steppers.
Yeah, habitual line steppers. Yeah, they don't even step over the line. They're like over the line all the time. So keep an eye on that. There was some commentary from Nick Nurse saying yesterday that they wanted to keep Kelly Oubre in starter minutes. That is coach speak for, hey, we like him off the bench, but we're still going to play him a lot. So, like, low key, if Oubre starts, which I'm kind of expecting, then we're like, is Batum going to play? So keep an eye on that. And then Jeff Townsend was kind of played last night out of the blue to give Campaign some breathers, according to Nick Nurse. So we've got that. I think that's it. Mo Bamba, awful foul trouble. We wanted to get it under on him, couldn't get it officially. That was nice, but the Sixers back to back against a bad team, man. This is pretty tough. But they're slipping, man. They need to get wins. They're 7th now, so maybe I'm being a freak out, but it's for good reason. They've done it to me for I don't even know 10+ years of the Sixers stuff that I've been covering.
When teams are consistently deceitful, you're going to be skeptical. It's normal. All right, Chicago and Utah. On the Chicago side of things, Torrey Craig listed doubtful, so that's kind of a positive note. He had been being listed out. Still don't expect him to be available tonight, but at least trending to maybe getting back soon. Dalen Terry listed questionable due to personal reasons. Still without, of course, Patrick Williams, Zach LaVine, and their G Leaguers here. So Alex Caruso not listed on the injury report. That's also good news for the Bulls, who have been thin at this forward position in the absence of Patrick Williams and Torrey Craig. What are your notes here on the Bulls? How does Dalen Terry's potential absence impact anything? He's been kind of usurped in the rotation by Batum, so it doesn't seem to matter much. But what are your notes here on the Bulls?
Just Tibbsy in minutes. Kobe White, 44 minutes. Shout out to Sam for the flag plant. That was excellent. I'm riding his coattails. I'm cover boying Kobe White today. I just love guards against the Jazz. It's been one of my go-tos there. So that'll kind of cover Kobe. I'd assume it was really strong yesterday. Last game, I should say. And then again, Vooch got the touches again. Despite not scoring, he didn't have too much of a dip in his front court touches. They still got them in the ball. He's in a pretty good spot. Obviously, the DeRozan, 19 fourth quarter points. Huge comeback. Really bad loss for the Kings. We'll talk about them in a little bit. So, pretty straightforward here. We saw the double big minutes go away. We'll see if that changes here. If they're going to play Kobe 44, DeMar 38, Dosunmu 39, Caruso 30, you just don't have the minutes, right? So expecting that starting lineup to play a bunch. Phillips, Batum, they're kind of locked in, and then Drummond will still be in there, and Carter and Dalen Terry kind of fluctuating in there.
Yeah, the lack of overlap last game against Sacramento was mildly surprising, just in the sense that they've struggled with depth at this forward position. But when Caruso is available, it seems to be very, very hit or miss whether you're going to get the double big overlap. And Utah is playing really small now. We'll get to them. So I think there's a decent chance we get none again from Drummond and Vooch tonight.
Yep.
Utah side, Keontae George in the next injury report will be updated to out. He is on the 130 listed as questionable, but he is out. Taylor Hendricks out. Walker Kessler out. Lauri Markkanen out. Otto Porter Jr., I did not even know he was on the Utah Jazz, out. And then a couple G Leaguers listed as questionable here. So what are your notes on the Jazz tonight?
No Keontae George. So we saw last time he was listed as a late Q tag. After the game, Will Hardy said that they said he was 50-50 when they had morning shoot around. He didn't go to shoot around, which we expected. And then they had quote all indications that he was going to be able to be good to go. So they put him in the starting lineup, and then all of a sudden Keontae's I can't go. And that was it. So they ruled him out for that game, ruled him out here. So we saw they also lost Taylor Hendricks for a turf toe injury. So he's out probably for weeks. Turf toe, I don't know the severity obviously yet, but so he's out. And then, as I mentioned last edition, that Luka Samanic was subbing in behind Lauri Markkanen, and then he got elevated. So he's starting. He's starting again. Commentary from Will Hardy saying that was good. They're going to kind of keep him in that role. So we know for sure that Luka Samanic, Colin Sexton, and John Collins are going to start. And then with Hendricks and George going down, it was Jordan Clarkson making a rare start. And then Chris Dunn starting basically in Taylor Hendricks' spot for on-ball defense. So feel pretty good. They're probably going to start. I think Chris Dunn's a lock at this point. And then I'm not like 100% sure. We see a lot of times where, a guy starts the second half. It's, starting the second half is different from starting the game. Like sometimes they just like their sixth man coming off the bench. So it could be done. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Johnny Uzang, who got talked up a ton after the game. It could be Taylor Horton-Tucker. Certainly not a lock that Jordan Clarkson would start. That said, he's going to play a ton. I don't think they would start Bryce Sensabaugh. I think they want him in the second unit. But for now, leaning Clarkson starting. But again, kind of all bets are off. They could kind of shift Sexton as more of a one. And they do have more handling Chris Dunn. So they don't necessarily need to start three guards there. That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, never be too confident in who Will Hardy's going to start.
Chris Dunn's been a pretty good individual one-on-one on-ball defender throughout his career. He's played really well this year from a defensive standpoint. I assume, based on your Kobe White flag plant, that you're thinking that if Chris Dunn does start, he is guarding DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think that's probably right because Dunn has some size to him. They don't have a lot of other options there. But yeah, that's the one. That's my one mild concern. But I mean, you saw Washington didn't have any issues scoring the ball.
It's also just a product of their system too. Like they're so turnover prone. They give it the most transition points. So it's just kind of like environment. And as good as Chris Dunn has been, like guys still light him up. So it's just a product of how Utah plays.
Yep. Milwaukee and Golden State. Milwaukee side, Giannis listed questionable with the left Achilles tendonitis that cost him last game. Jay Crowder also shows up on the injury report, probable left knee contusion, as is Marjon Beauchamp with a probable tag left foot tendonitis. Still without Chris Middleton. So, it's not playoff time. So Chris Middleton's not playing. Giannis Q tag, though. What are your expectations here? We saw last game, they got a nice win against the Clippers on the second night of back-to-back. To me, that felt like maybe buys them a little bit more time if they want on this Giannis stuff and just continue to be conservative here. In terms of scheduling, this is not a back-to-back situation for them. So, they don't have to worry about having a game tomorrow. It is a national TV game, I believe, tonight. Yeah, it's an ESPN game. Their next game is against the Lakers. So another national TV game. And then they don't have a back-to-back until the third week in March. So their schedule's pretty light of late. What are your thoughts on this Giannis Q tag tonight?
So background-wise, we found out after the game that he was playing through this Achilles soreness for a few games, and then last game he got his warm-up got cut short. Not good. So definitely a chance he sits. Don't have much to say besides that. Doc doesn't know anything. Like Doc. Yeah. So, anyways, don't need a whole nother diatribe. Anyways, so I don't have a great feel for it. Probably called game time. Won't be surprised if it gets ruled out. It's Achilles. That's something you don't want to mess around with there. As you mentioned, buying some time, winning, all that, yada yada yada. So, if he doesn't play, I think they go to Beverly. He would get we saw that last time, which wasn't supposed to happen. The Bucks tweeted out that Pat Connaughton was going to start. He did not. They started Patrick Beverly, who played pretty well, I would say. So he would start again. He would get the Steph assignment. And then the starters are the same. Damian Lillard, Malik Beasley, Brooke, and then Jay Crowder, who hurt his knee. Didn't get listed initially. Didn't play in the final, call it 16 minutes of the game. A little bit surprising given the lack of front court depth without Giannis. So I think that's why. But that mostly covers the injuries. Role-wise, Dame, 10 minutes of touch time. Drives are, I think, 8 above where he was season average-wise. He was Portland Dame. You get the Oakland Bay Area homecoming, even though it's in San Francisco. You get that narrative with Dame. Could be a big game for him. Not worried about Andrew Wiggins and all those guys there. And then Bobby Portis. Are our Bobby Portis bags not dead yet is the thing. Because he's going off. He moved up. You think they're dead? I don't think they're dead.
They're still dead.
They're not dead.
Still, I mean, I have hope, but I have hope, but I think they're dead.
The Boomers, man, they just read the standings like, oh look, hey, the Bucks are in second place.
I hope nobody pays attention to what Malik Monk's doing the rest of the season. That's my only hope. But yeah,
he's second in the NBA for bench points off the bench. He's first in rebounding. He's like trailing hard, but he's not. I don't know. Anyways, enough of that. So yeah, that's all right. I think we covered it. They did run some triple big lineups. They ran some Gallo at the three with the bigs. That was interesting. That's mostly it.
I was gonna say they don't. Unfortunately, Milwaukee doesn't have any TNT games coming up. I was gonna say, get your boy Lefko to start manipulating the media with Lefko, Bobby Portis 6 Man of the Year conversations. On the Golden State side, they have nothing listed on the injury report. We're gonna get Andrew Wiggins back from family matters that he was attending to. So. Pajemski not listed on the injury report. Steph Curry not listed on the injury report. They've had a few days off here since the debacle in Boston to end that road trip, which I think anybody could have seen that coming from kind of a mile away, given we talked about that game in Toronto where they were on the back-to-back 5th game in 7 nights, that there was a lot of ask there in terms of them grinding that one out. They did, and then immediately just got smacked by Boston, lose this game by nearly 60 points. So what are your notes on what we see from the Warriors tonight?
Yeah, just on that front, really quick, they had a 155 defensive rating without the garbage time. All their small sample-y stats since Draymond started are trash. They're done. Like all those good stats we had are just ruined from that one game.
Point differential as well. They had a pretty good point differential going on as well this year, and it just this took a hammer to a lot of it.
Yeah, completely nuts. So Andrew Wiggins, we found out from Shams Charania yesterday he was going to be returning to the Bay. Apparently the Beats weren't expecting him to be at practice, and he was already there. So he is good to go. Don't have too much to go there. Expecting him to start for sure. Maybe they bring him off the bench for a game. I don't know. There was commentary from Steve Kerr saying that Moses Moody, quote, earned it to play more minutes. So he's in the rotation, according to Steve Kerr. Obviously, Brandon Podziemski will continue to start. That will push Klay Thompson back to the bench with Pods coming back. So for now, expecting Steph, Pods, Wiggins, Kuminga, Dre. Obviously, Klay will be a big piece off the bench. CP3 still in the mix. And then we're starting to talk like, how many minutes does Moody play? How many minutes does Dario Saric play? Does he go away? Looney should still be in the mix. Does Lester Quijones play again? Do they, because they kind of snuck him in there. Still have Gary Payton. So, as you mentioned, they have literally nobody on the injury report since they've been decent. This is like the first time they've got like a full roster. Draymond's been suspended since Thanksgiving. But and then they start getting hit with injuries with Chris Paul, yada yada yada. So, pretty crazy. But that's kind of where we're at. Tough projection for sure with all these bodies.
All right, Oklahoma City and Portland. Oklahoma City side, Jalen Williams is listed out with a left knee sprain here, so that is big man. Jalen Williams, also known as Jay Will, that is out tonight. Otherwise, just G Leaguers. Any notes on the Thunder?
No, just tough loss, back-to-back schedule loss against the Lakers. Don't have too much to add. They have destroyed this team quite obviously. SGA scored over 30 in 26 minutes per game against the Blazers. He's going to completely crush. Not much else to add.
Portland side, DeAndre Ayton doubtful, Toumani Camara and Jeremy Grant questionable, as is Matisse Thybulle. All three of those guys missed last game in addition to DeAndre Ayton. They're still without Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, and Malcolm Brogdon. So what are your expectations for the Blazers tonight?
Yeah, a little odd to get the D tag on DeAndre Ayton. We saw him get the Q last time, so that's a little unusual to get the downgrade there. So expecting Duop-Reath to start. Maybe that was why. Like, oh, hey, let's just play Duop another game. After going off against Rudy Gobert, he gets one of the better matchups here. As good as the Thunder are, the centers could beat them. So he has that working for him, and he has the catch-and-shoot stuff working for him. OKC, I think, is fourth in most catch-and-shoot points allowed. So we'll see about Grant. We saw him get hurt over the weekend with a quad contusion, missed some time, could be back today. We'll see. It's a contusion, so it wouldn't need a ramp up. He could play a bunch. It could be him. Certainly Anthony Simons, Chris Murray, Duop locked in. They maybe bring Jabari off the bench. Not quite sure there. They probably keep him. We saw Banton started for Grant, so it would probably be for Banton. So if Grant's in, expecting Anthony Simons, Chris Murray, Grant, Jabari, and Duop, their bench could still be, pretty deep. We'll see if Tumani's in, he'd be in for Walker there. So excuse me for that. But so it's still mostly unclear. Hagen's still in the mix. They got Ryan Rupert got talked up a little bit from Chauncey Billups. He may be getting consistent minutes, but pretty tough to parse with some of these Q tags.
All right, Sacramento and the Lakers, last game on the slate to talk through here. Sacramento side, good news, De'Aaron Fox is not listed on the injury report, so it looks like he came out of last game healthy. They're still without Sasha Vezenkov with the right ankle sprain. No other notes on the Kings from the injury report status. What do you got?
Just how bad their defense is. Let me get the stats there. Because they've been, I think they're 28th in their last handful of games. Yes, shoot, I can't. Yeah, 29th. Yep, 29th. So not great. They're getting killed inside. They're getting killed everywhere. That's really the only headline. We talked about 2 weeks ago. We were like, oh, the Kings, they got a chance. And then they just lose all over the place. So
blown some really soft home game opponents.
Yeah.
Like those were they had a big advantage on home games compared to the rest of. But you lose to Detroit, you lose to Chicago. Like it's just real bad in terms of what they've done to kind of blow this advantage that they had on their opponents who were getting less and less healthy. It's been real bad. They lost to Miami on the second night of a back-to-back. Which obviously Miami's a good team, but just in general, when you're a home team facing a road team on the second night of back-to-back, that's a huge schedule advantage. Just have not taken advantage of any of this.
Yeah, dead last actually in over the last month in half and defensive rating, 29th in half court. When they're actually not getting killed too bad on the boards, they're just getting killed on cuts and just easy stuff that they're giving up to guards. So pretty good spot for the Lakers, who are thriving. Talk about them, but Malik Monk playing a bunch, obviously at Kevin Huerter's expense, and we'll see if he kind of gets increased. He actually came out hot in this game and then kind of went away. That was un-Monk-like after completely destroying the Wolves in the fourth a couple games ago.
Lakers side, it's the same injury report we've seen for a while now. Anthony Davis probable, LeBron James questionable, Cam Reddish probable, out tags for Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood. What are your notes on the Lakers tonight?
Yeah, I don't have much injury-wise. They just get these all the time. They got to win games, blah, 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 blah. They're almost about to catch the Mavericks now, so don't have much to add there. I do want to highlight their offense, though. In their last 10 games, they are second in offense. They've been really turning it up, certainly attributed to LeBron. This is an Anthony Davis smash. I just talked about how bad the Kings are getting beat inside. I think Sabonis is not going to be able to cover Anthony Davis. Almost cover Boyd. Anthony Davis here, I think he goes nuts. Should be a pretty good LeBron spot as well. He's taken it to Harrison Barnes throughout his career. So pretty good Lakers spot here. Playing, again, just their best offense of the season, not really close.
Yeah. They're just getting a lot of offensive firepower into that starting lineup now. They're kind of ditching, which was the big question mark around why they closed with Cam Reddish against the Nuggets, when your offense has been kind of the thing you've been leading with. And that's what they've gone with, this Hachimura lineup with Reeves, Russell, Hachimura, AD, and LeBron. That's a very, very difficult lineup to guard. There's just a lot of offensive talent there kind of at every level. So I would expect that to continue as long as they're running out this lineup, getting away from guys like Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, Max Christie, all these guys who are just pure spot up shooters and don't add a lot of versatility offensively. You get them off the floor and this offense can kind of explode. The question marks, though, are the defense, which is just going to be very, very dependent on Anthony Davis, which he was exceptional in this game against Oklahoma City. But that's the challenge with the Lakers. You expect a lot of high-scoring games from the Lakers kind of going forward is the note.
Sure.
Okay, that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're enjoying the content that we're posting here, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're in pursuit of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season. We need your help to get there, a couple hundred short right now. So subscribe to this channel, get notifications by hitting the bell if you'd like whenever we go live. And of course, if you're interested in any of the premium content, you can check out establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our product offerings. It'll be myself and Chris Lafakis behind the paywall tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern time, our first show together, as we continue to try out new combinations in the absence of Gary Hartman, who hopefully right now, Gary, hopefully you're not watching, because the bosses, in the corporate world probably do not want the Established Run NBA Injury Report Analysis show on in the background while you have your suit on. But shout out to Gary. We miss you. As always, if you are enjoying the free content that we're posting, the best way to keep it free is by smashing that like button and feeding that algorithm. You feed the algorithm, it helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash, press, caress, push firmly, whatever you'd like to do to that like button to help feed that algorithm, please go ahead and do so. It helps, as I said, feed our families. So nom, 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 nom. We'll see you next time.